Welcome to the T. Rowe Show. Transmitting truth one week at a time.
Welcome to the T. Rowe Show, the special edition number 2. We have some information for folks that needs to be known to everyone as far as dealing with the equestrian order of the Holy Sepulchre. We're going to be showing you quite a few things today on and especially a lot of the definitions and connections, because there is something that has come across this desk, and this is what needs to be known. First of all, we talked about in the very first one, dealing with the intangible property rights to things. Dealing with the intangible property right to law, intangible property right to all these other things. American Bar Association takes your intangible property right to the law. Since everyone has the right to law and to the law, there's no reason why an organization as small as it is, I think it's like 1.2 million or something like that, that would have exclusive intangible property rights to the law. We all need to understand this concept of intangible property rights to things. Now, what we're going to be talking about here is connections. We're going to connect some things, connect some dots for people so they can see it on screen for themselves. So that being said, we have got right here the United States Lieutenancies. It's a military order. The purposes and aims of the order is the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem is the only lay institution of the Vatican state. Okay? The lay institution of the Vatican state. Now, we have a couple of definitions that need to be stated here. So I'll stop sharing. And David, if you could read that particular definition that you found. It's a lay improprietary, I believe. Improprietary.
Okay, this is from Black's Law Dictionary, Special Deluxe 5th edition, page 799. And it is the definition of lay impropriator. And it says, in English ecclesiastical law, a lay person holding a spiritual appropriation.
Okay, that's basically it. All right. So a spiritual appropriation. Now, now we got to go to the definition of appropriation. So we go to a definition of appropriation. It's something as a gift granted for a definite purpose. Okay, so we're talking about a contract. So the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre is in contract with the Vatican state. That's a specific contract. It was granted to somebody. That means, okay, that the Vatican state had in possession in order for something to grant. So you have to be in possession of something in order to grant something. So since that particular equestrian order is connected to Vatican state, that means the intention to resolve international issues, and the intention was to resolve international issues through the equestrian order of the Holy Sepulchre, which is connected to the Charter of the Judges in Rome, Italy, which is connected to the federal judges in the United States, US, and all judges all the way down to the local level. Does that make sense? It's right there in front of everybody. So there is a definite connection between Vatican state and the judicial system of the United States. They are definitely there. If you take an oath or affirmation, or you're under the Charter of the Judges, and all the federal, we know for sure are, they try to break that connection on the state level. I don't think they have. They all wear the same robes. They all have the same flags. They all have the same everything. A lot of them have the same rules, the same codes and everything else. I don't think there's any difference between the state, local, state, and federal when it comes to these agencies. One will say it's international. The other one will say it's domestic. They created this domestic thing to confuse people, because if you have a judge sitting there on a bench on a third plane of jurisdiction, which is a foreign jurisdiction, it just tells you right there when he's up on his mantle, you're looking at a foreign judge. His first and foremost allegiance is to the foreign state, which would be the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, that is contracted with Vatican State. So we have to be real specific on that. That it is, in fact, a foreign state running a foreign, so-called foreign judicial system. Which means the local laws really wouldn't mean much to this guy. The state laws wouldn't mean much to this guy, nor would any federal laws mean anything to this guy that's sitting on the bench or this woman. Their first and foremost allegiance is to a foreign state. So you have a foreigner sitting there, whether they know it or not. In my guess, I think everybody knows it. Okay, this particular edition, special edition number 2, is going to be fairly short because we found some things that is extremely important. When the Vatican came into being, they wrote an accord in 1929, and there are specific things that they strictly cannot do under international law. First of all, if you have a foreign judge sitting in front of you, that's an international case. That falls under international law. It does not fall under local, state, or federal, nothing. It falls under international law because of his position, his obedience, his allegiance to a foreign state. Just like when Bush came in and took an oath and affirmation to the Holy Sepulchre, he was a foreign individual. He was not and could not be a president of the United States. Everyone who has taken an oath to be this Holy Sepulchre is a foreigner, even to the United States, Manhattan Island, even to every one of the states. All of his executive orders would be considered null and void. Everything he signed, everything he did. And it goes all the way back, over and over and over again. Every one of those presidents that did that, everything that they did is null and void because they were foreigners at the time. They were not U.S. citizens. Not that that means much to anybody, but they were not U.S. citizens. That's why you have to be very careful. Now, when that foreigner had the commander-in-chief's flag in all the courts, that made all the courts foreign. He was working on behalf of a foreign power. Some would call it treason. That's if the United States was actually the country it says it is, when it actually operates as a company. That's how you get around that kind of treason stuff, guys. That's how it all works. So, that being said, the Vatican itself is under strict compliance with its agreements. Strict compliance. And that's where all the secrecy comes in, because it violates its own agreements over and over and over again. And I'm going to show you which agreement it's violating now. Since it is involved in all of the judicial systems within all of the states, it is contractually involved, which makes it directly involved with the judicial system in another country foreign to it. It has no authority to do what it's doing. Article 24. This is the Vatican's agreement. I'll show you the heading here in just a minute. In regard to the sovereignty appertaining to it, also in international matters, the Holy See declares that it desires to take and shall take no part in any temporal rivalries between other states, nor in any international congresses called to settle such matters, save and except in event of such parties making a mutual appeal to the pacific mission of the Holy See, the latter reserving in any event the right of exercising its moral and spiritual power. The Vatican City shall therefore be invariably and in every event considered as neutral and inviolable territory. Folks, international neutrality is very specific. You cannot violate international neutrality, which means you cannot involve yourself in lawsuits and all of these things and settling lawsuits in any way whatsoever unless both parties make a mutual appeal to the pacific mission of the Holy See. Now, anybody that's been to court lately, did anyone make a mutual appeal to the pacific mission of the Holy See? I don't even believe anybody ever saw or ever knew that this even existed. And each and every judge has to give full disclosure on who he is, where his allegiances lie, and you have to make a mutual appeal to his specific mission of the Holy See. He has to tell you who he is. He can't leave that out. I'm going to show you why. What this is the Lateran Pacts of 1929. Contained 3 sections, the Treaty of Conciliation, 27 articles, which established Vatican City as an independent state, restoring the civil sovereignty of the Pope as a monarch, the Financial Convention annexed to the treaty, 3 articles, which compensated the Holy See for loss of the Papal States, and the Concordat, which dealt with the Roman Catholic Church's ecclesiastical relations with the Italian state. Now, what this means is if the Italians, country of Italy, knows or has any knowledge of this, Vatican City loses its neutrality. That's why all the secrecy of financial dealings and everything else. Vatican is very specific on its financial dealings. They hide, they do all kinds of things. Let's find and see the law of neutrality. You can look this up any time you want. Neutrality, international law, the state of a nation which takes no part between 2 or more other nations at war with each other. Neutrality consists in the observance of a strict and honest impartiality, so as not to afford advantage in the war to either party. So people have always known when they're going to war, going to fight in court, doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a gun or a knife or something like that. You're going to war with somebody. And particularly insofar restraining its trade to the accustomed course, which is held in time of peace, as not to render assistance to one of the belligerents in escaping the effects of the other's hostilities. Even a loan of money to one of the belligerent parties is considered a violation of neutrality. A fraudulent neutrality is considered as no neutrality. So if the court is using the case and creating prison bonds and all these things, and it's getting loans from its creditors on the bonds, and holding and making you held responsible for that loan in either time in prison, where the taxpayers pay for your incarceration, or anything of that matter is considered a fraudulent neutrality. So we'll show this one more time. This is going to be a very short special edition. I'm going to go over here. This is what the Vatican cannot do. It's in Article 24. Otherwise, it's lost its neutrality. In regard to the sovereignty appertaining to it also in international matters. Remember, if that judge has an oath to a foreign state, it's an international matter. Now, what does this also mean? It means that every police officer has been set up for international human trafficking. Because if a prison bond is created on your case, and the prison bond is funded by creditors, remember, a loan can't even be there. You have been trafficked to a foreign venue for the purpose of slavery. That is the definition of human trafficking, one of the definitions of human trafficking. If you get raped while you're in prison, that's forced sexual slavery. The Holy See declares that it desires to take and shall take no part in any temporal rivalries between other states or in any international congresses called to settle such matters, save and except in the event of such parties making a mutual appeal to the pacific mission of the Holy See. Now, if the accused does not make a mutual appeal with the prosecutor to a pacific mission of the Holy See, the latter reserving in any event the right of exercising its moral and spiritual power, then guess what, folks? You have been denied international due process, which means every case since 1929 in the United States where this has happened is considered absolutely null and void. The prison bonds are no good, and the loans that went on them were bad loans. They have to be written off. You want anything you want to add on that, John, as far as how this affects everything?
Actually, they should have to pay back all the interest they made on all those bonds too.
Absolutely. Now, the prison system, folks, is about 70% of the United States economy. So common sense tells you that Article 24 has been violated consistently over a long period of time, 80 to almost 100 years, that the Vatican's neutrality has been violated. Or they violated their own neutrality. And every single case that's connected to the Vatican, and every one of the cases are, in fact, connected to the Vatican. Even if it was a state case, even if they separated the local and the state, you can always appeal to the federal. There's also a connection. And when you appeal, you didn't make a mutual appeal to the pacific mission of the Holy See, which has to be specific. You thought you were making an appeal to the federal. You were never told that you were going into an international venue. You were never told that you were going to an international court held by foreign citizens. You were never told any of this, no matter what. Now, since you have that knowledge, this is what you now have to do. You have to go back to your state constitutions, get your re-elections, and start your own courts back up again under your state constitutions. With this knowledge, that's what you are obligated to do. You have to have a law and order in the country. So you can't just say, oh, well, they're foreign, screw them. You can't do that. You have to go back, and now you have your own courts. Right now, as it stands, the General Postmaster Council and the Human Rights Tribunal are the only two legitimate courts in this country as of right now.
Didn't it state before you had to ask permission for that court to come in session?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
All
have to. All the parties have to agree. Yeah.
And they have to ask that court to convene for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that never happens.
Absolutely never happens. Even in a local court, you have to ask a mutual appeal to the Pacific Mission of the Holy See, because that judge is a part of the International Judges Association and the State Judges Association. And those associations are all connected to the equestrian order of the Holy Sepulchre. They're all connected. That means the Vatican has been dabbling in the judicial system over here and basically set it all up to where foreign law is being imposed upon you. And you didn't even know what the foreign law was. So now you have two of them that you got to deal with. The equestrian order, which is supposed to be a separate state, but they're in contract with Vatican State. And that's how it operates. So there you go. Now you have to go back to your original constitutions and get your political party together, get your elections together. You have to have this within 6 months to a year to get these things settled. Get your oaths and affirmations to your states and all those things that need to be done. This government here will hold on to the country until that happens. But y'all have got to get off your butts and get it done. We can't do it all. So you want to change the course of your life and you want right self-determination and change the course of your destiny, get off your butt. Thank you for listening to the T Row Show, special edition number 2.